It's 6 o'clock in the heart of the Texas Hill Country, and you're listening to Eat, Play, Live with me, Andi P, the show that's chasing dreams and crushing goals. My goal here is to help you live a healthier, happier, more balanced life. Our focus this year has been learning to love ourselves unconditionally. And when it comes to love, even loving ourselves, sometimes we hesitate out of fear. Yeah. Why? What are we afraid of? How could we possibly be afraid to love ourselves? That doesn't even make sense, does it? I mean, I get why it can be scary to love others. We fear, of course, that they might hurt us. They might break our hearts. They might lie, cheat, steal, all of the above. Yeah, I know. I've been there. Anyway, but we would never do that to ourselves, right? Right? Well, actually, we lie to ourselves all the time. If you've got that mean voice in the back of the head that tends to tell you that you're not good enough, not smart enough, not attractive enough for whatever, yeah, that's the lying voice. We cheat ourselves. We cheat ourselves out of happiness and freedom that comes with falling in love with our one-of-a-kind selves. Yeah. And we steal our own joy. We do it all the time. We rob ourselves of experiences that people who do love themselves get to have. Why do they get to have all the cool stuff? If we can just learn how to let go of that fear, love ourselves, then we get to have and do the cool stuff too. That's right. And we're going to do that. But how? Yeah. How then do we face the fear of loving ourselves? Well, by doing just that, facing it. That's what we got to do. And that's not all. So, okay, later in this show, I'm going to actually give you 14 different ways to conquer fear. But first, let's take a look at a way that we can make fear actually work to our advantage when it comes to what we eat. Yes, I know that sounds strange, but it can. So I've been reading this book, and it's called The Metabolic Approach to Cancer. And I started reading it for someone that I love that is fighting cancer right now. And what I'm finding is that it's put some fear in me as far as what I eat and what everyone I know and love eats, because wow, we put some crazy stuff in our bodies, you know, and it also, there are a lot of things. If you go and you start researching, it can get a little scary, right? And one of the things the book says, and this just blew me away, is that less than 25% of all medical schools offer a course in nutrition. And when they do, it's an elective. So your medical doctor likely has very little understanding of basic nutrition, never mind deep or integrative nutrition, and therefore simply not even qualified to offer advice on that topic. Okay, so you wonder why your doctor doesn't really talk to you about ways that you can fight illness using food, because they don't know. They know how to use medicine. Okay, and that's okay. That's good. That's what they are paid to do. But we can do so much by what we do eat and what we don't eat, you know? So it's kind of crazy when you think about it that so many times you see or read, talk to your doctor before starting this exercise program or before starting this diet. Well, okay, I don't want to tell you not to talk to your doctor, but I'm kind of like, why? Do they know? I don't know. Okay, I'm going to get in trouble if I tell you not to talk to your doctor first. You should make sure that your heart is healthy and that your body is prepared to take on what you're about to do. But when it comes to nutrition and what is going to work for you or against you, you may want to do some further research, or listen to me, because I'm going to do the research as well. And then I'm going to bang you over the head with it, because that's what I do. So the book though, it talks about how quickly our eating habits have changed when you compare to how much time it takes for human genetics to adapt to change. Does that make sense? So even though we've been eating a certain way maybe for hundreds of years, so since agriculture was introduced, the way humans eat has changed drastically. Before that, it was hunter-gatherers, right? So we're talking meat and gathering seeds, berries, whatever you could find. And then we learned how to plant. And it changed the way we eat. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but since the beginning of human time, our bodies only knew one way of digesting food and utilizing what was being put into it. So all of a sudden, now we're growing food, and then we start modifying what we're growing, and then we start putting pesticides on what we're growing. And the next thing you know, we're just filling our bodies with poison, and our body clearly hasn't had time to figure out how to process that out. And so we wonder why cancer and autism and ADHD and all this crazy stuff that we just didn't see way back when. Well, what do you expect when we just fill ourselves with poison? Oh goodness, I'm getting on a soapbox, but it is. It is what it is. So I will talk more about this and more specifically in future shows, but just know if there is a particular illness that scares you, maybe it's something that's run in your family, or maybe you've lost someone that's close to you, but whatever that illness is, whether it's cancer, diabetes, heart disease, what you do or do not put in your body has a profound effect. Okay? And while I don't have time to do all the specifics in one show, I will say, here's the rule of thumb. Don't eat crap. If you eat crap, you have a reason to be afraid. What is crap? Well, I'll put this on my Facebook page, eatplaylive.andy, so that you can refer to it. Actually, I did put it on there already. I'm way ahead of myself. Crap. C stands for carbonated drinks. We're talking about soda, people. Cut it out. You don't need it. It's terrible for you. R, refined sugar. Sugar is from the devil. It is. I'm just gonna go there. Sugar is terrible. For cancer, sugar makes it grow. Okay, for diabetes, hello, sugar. Sugar is more addictive than heroin. It is something that we should not be putting in our bodies. Avoid crap. Carbonated beverages, sugar. A is for artificial foods, and I'm including artificial sweeteners in artificial foods. If it comes in a box, chances are it's artificial, or at least most of the ingredients are. So stay away from that if you want to be healthy. And P, processed foods. Frankenfoods, hot dogs. There are so many examples of processed foods, but I've told you before, stay to that outside edge of the grocery store, and that's a good start. Now, hot dogs are on the outside edge, so I'm not saying it's perfect, but fruits and vegetables, dairy, meat, stay with real food. Stay away from the processed foods. So CRAP, if you can remember that, that gives you at least a good starting point for making better choices. So in this case, fear of food could actually be keeping you safe. That's right. And it's easy to conquer this fear just by making one good decision at a time to eat food that is organic and as close to its natural source as possible. We can't all do it perfectly. We can't all grow all of our own and raise all of our own. I get that. I can't either. I know. But as best you can, just eat real food. That's right. So, and I give lots of examples of organic food, real food. I've done it in a lot of my previous shows, which if you ever want to go back and revisit any of those, eatplaylive.andy on Facebook. All the old videos are there, for better or for worse. And of course, this is something that I'm going to continue. So if you just keep tuning in, week after week, then bit by bit, you will pick up some of this fascinating and soundly advice. Eat real food. Now then, let's face our fears in the way we play. Do you have a fear of playtime? Well, that sounds strange. I don't know. I bet you do. And curiosity will conquer more fear than bravery ever will. Think about that. So just staying curious can actually conquer fear. Well, think about trying something new, okay? We're talking about in the realm of exercise here. So maybe kickboxing or cycling or yoga. You've never tried it before and you have a fear of that unknown. Well, why not be curious? Will you love it? Will it be easier or harder than you thought it might be? Well, you don't know because you're afraid to try. What about signing up for an event like maybe a Spartan race or even a 5K if you've never done any kind of running before? How much will it challenge you? Be curious. How will you feel when it's done? Be curious. That's how you will conquer the fear of stepping out into that. There's only one thing that makes a dream impossible to achieve, and that is the fear of failure. The more you challenge yourself, the more you give yourself an opportunity to conquer that fear. So I conquered a pretty major fear a few days ago with my very first marathon in Brooklyn, New York. And I wanted to just give some examples because there were a lot of fears associated with this particular event. Things like logistics. This was a major fear that I was struggling with was how am I going to get there? This event starts at 7 o'clock in the morning in a city I'm not very familiar with. I don't have a vehicle here and I wouldn't want to drive there even if I did. So how am I going to get to the starting line in time by really around 6 a.m.? And if I get there too early, am I going to freeze? I was a little worried about that too. So Uber, subway. If I take the subway, I got to transfer trains. What if I get mugged? No, I didn't really think that, but I was worried just about the navigating the time. And then what if I forget something? I had a lot of fear and anxiety associated with that. And then the physical fears of taking on 26.2 miles. I won't be able to finish. My knees will hurt. My hips will hurt. My calves will hurt. My feet will hurt. Maybe they'll cramp. Maybe I'll have to stop. I'll strain something. What if my stomach is upset? What if I run out of food? What if I don't have enough electrolytes? There were some physical fear of what could happen in this long of an event. And then there were mental fears too. You know, you hear about endurance events like a marathon being mental. It's all mental. That's what you hear that a lot. Well, what if I'm not strong enough mentally? I'm already worried about if I'm strong enough physically, but what if I'm not strong enough mentally? What if my mind says, forget this, give up, you're running right by a brunch place, you could just take a left turn, grab a mimosa and call this a day? It could happen. What about the fact that I wasn't able to listen to music because I figured my phone would die? It certainly wasn't going to last that long if I was blasting tunes the whole time. Plus, for safety's sake, sometimes it makes more sense not to wear headphones when you're out running on the street. Am I going to lose my ever-loving mind running for hours and hours and hours with no music? And then what if I'm embarrassed because I'm so slow? I am not a fast runner. My goal was 6 hours. There are people that can do it in 2.5. They're insane. I don't know how that happens, but what if so fear, so many fears. And it would be so easy to give into that fear, but instead, what about being curious? Oh my gosh, so many things to be curious. How cool is it going to be to run with 20,000 people? Yes, that's how many people were signed up for this event. 20,000 people running down the roads. What new parts of Brooklyn will I get to see that I've never seen before? Will I be as tired when I hit the 11-mile mark as I am when I do a half marathon? You know, those are 13.1. So at 11, I start to get tired because my body and my brain know that we're getting close to the end. But will it be the same? Is it really a mental game? Curious. At what point will I really have to dig in? I'm curious. When is that really going to hit? Is it going to hit at 20 miles, which is what I've read and what I found in my training? Or is it later when you have the extra adrenaline from the event? How many porta potty stops will 26 miles require? Be curious. With so much time in my head, will I finally reach the epiphany with the work problem that I've been struggling with? Will it give me the time and the mental clarity to work that out? How proud will my kids be when they see me at the finish line? Be curious. Will my kids even wake up in time to get there? If it's at noon or 1 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe not. I don't know. Be curious. Will there be a beer at the finish line? The races in Texas almost always have beer at the finish line. And I got to tell you, the one in Brooklyn did not. I was a little disappointed, but I stayed curious. How many calories am I burning running for 6 hours? Who's tracking me on the app? Is it even working? Who is going to see or hear? Because you know I'm going to post all about it because that's what I do. I know. I'm a little extra when it comes to putting things on Facebook. But who's going to see that and think, hey, maybe I can do it too. Maybe I can do a hard thing. She can do it. I am 51 years old and I have done a half Ironman and now my first marathon at this age. Yeah. So if that doesn't inspire somebody, I don't know, because this has not been easy stuff. Stay curious. I wondered, will I want to do another one once this is done? Or will I check off that box and say, all right, walk away? Or will I feel like this was the step I needed to now sign up for a full Ironman? Stay curious. Will I decide to pursue something else entirely? Will the next one I run be as pretty? Will I run faster next time? What was I so afraid of? Man, there are so many things to be curious about when you just go ahead and do something that you've never done before. Maybe you've never thought you could do it before. And in this segment, I'm talking about exercise, but in all things in our life, we can do hard things. We are stronger, way stronger than we give ourselves credit for. All the time. All the time. Think back of things that you've accomplished that you were scared to start. You were scared to try. And then you did them. In fact, running this marathon, I have to tell you, as much anxiety as I had going into it, I was really never afraid of not finishing because I had decided to finish. Not finishing was never an option. I never even let myself consider that possibility. So unless I really hurt myself, there was no way that I was not going to drag my hiney across that finish line. I knew that it would be hard. But like I said, I can do hard things. And so can you. Yes, absolutely. So I want to read you this little, I don't know if it's a poem or just an excerpt, but it's from Marianne Williamson, and you've probably heard it before. I love this. This is one of my favorite quotes ever. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us. It is in everyone. As we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. I love that. It's a lot to take in. Look it up, read it, and let it really soak in. And no matter what your beliefs are, if you have an issue with God, then the God of your understanding, okay? I'm not trying to push any particular agenda on you other than to conquer your fear and embrace your greatness and love yourself. You can. So let's talk about how we can conquer our fear. Forbes magazine had this article. I was going to say posted. Not everyone posts. Published. There we go. That's the word. Published this article on 14 ways to conquer your fear. So let's go over these. Number 1, understand fear and embrace it. See, fear exists to keep us safe. Like I was talking about with food, it's keeping you safe by having a healthy fear. It's not inherently bad or good, but a tool that we can use to make better decisions. So embrace fear as instruction and let it inform your actions, but not control those actions. Number 2, don't just do something, stand there. Huh? We tend to admire people who are quick to action, but sometimes being deliberate, creating a plan, pacing yourself, those are also actions. So don't let haste make waste. 3, name the fear. Sometimes merely just stating it, saying what it is, and it is what it is, that gives you the strength to deal with it. Number 4, think long term. You may be worried about something that's coming next week, but if you go ahead and think about next month or next year, it can help you just get a better perspective on that short-term problem. You can think about it more objectively and maybe then come up with the right solution. 5, educate yourself. I talked about this with food as well. Educate yourself. We are afraid of nothing as much as the unknown. If your fear is based on a lack of information, then get the information you need to examine the situation. We have information overload, folks. Google it. Honestly, you got a question? Google it. Don't trust everything you read, but it's a good place to start. Number 6, practice. Yeah. You know what the top fear is in the United States? I know you can guess. Public speaking. That is what most people are afraid of. And you know what can help with that? Just practice. Just do it. I love public speaking because I'm kind of a freak that way. But I will say my hands shake. When I'm in front of a live audience, my hands will shake. Even though I feel fine, I'm cool, I'm calm, collected-ish, my hands will still shake. So practice helps that, makes that easier and easier. In fact, many surveys say that people rank death less scary than public speaking. Well, aren't you glad you don't have to practice death? Okay, one and done. Number 7, utilize peer pressure. Have you ever done something scary, like jump off a cliff into a lake, right? It's super high, but you were with friends who were egging you on, so peer pressure. Like fear itself, can be either positive or negative, depending on how it's wielded, how high the cliff is, how deep the water is. Surround yourself with people who will push you to overcome the fears that are holding you back. And if you do jump off a cliff, make sure that you point your body straight down, because if not, like I did, you can break your wrist if your hand hits the water flat. So just saying. But you know what happened is there was a group of guys standing on this cliff and they said, no girl has ever jumped off this cliff. This is way too high. You knew I had to jump. Of course. Are you kidding me? I was like 23. Heck yeah, I'm going to jump. Number 8, visualize success. Athletes do this all the time. They imagine the successful completion of a physical task, sometimes thousands of times before they actually achieve it. This mental mapping ensures that when the body moves, it's more likely to follow this path that you've already decided in your mind. Okay? The same practice will prepare you to succeed at whatever it is you're trying to achieve. Picture yourself there. I'm going to practice that one. Number 9, gain a sense of proportion. How big of a deal really is the thing you're afraid of? You tend to be a little dramatic. I don't know anybody else like that. We sometimes get so caught up in the success or failure of a particular quest that we lose sense of where it fits in with everything else we value. Ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen? And really even take it one step further. Okay, what's the worst that can happen? And then what if the worst happens? Then what? That's it? You're in that hole forever? You're never going to be able to dig back out? I doubt it. Number 10, get help. Whatever it is you're afraid of, is it something you actually have to do alone? Could you find a mentor, a coach, a friend, even a support group, somebody to help you out? You don't have to do all this alone, people. 11, follow others. Get a recipe. Follow the recipe. Are you doing something that has never, ever been done before? Really? Nobody has ever done this task that you're trying to do and you're afraid of doing it. Well, if someone has done it before, maybe you can just follow in their footsteps. It takes a lot of the scary out. Just follow it. Number 12, have a positive attitude. What would you do differently if you were absolutely guaranteed success in any undertaking? Yeah, I bet you do a lot of things differently. People who have positive attitudes are successful because they just keep trying after others give up. They don't know give up. They just keep going. 13, be willing to pivot. If you're afraid to do something again because maybe it didn't work out the first time, figure out why it didn't work and pivot. Just do it a little different. Just adjust your sails. Yeah, don't sink the ship. Just adjust the sails. 14, focus on others as your motivation. Change your focus. There are things that we would never do for ourselves, but we would quickly and fearlessly do them for other people, right? So an example is there was a man that was giving a presentation and he asked a mother in the audience if she would be willing to cross a standard metal I-beam from one skyscraper to another. And she said, no, there's no way she's going to walk across a little tiny I-beam. And if she's afraid of heights like me, not going to happen. So he said, okay, I'm going to give you $1 million to cross this I-beam. And it's also a little bit rainy, but $1 million. No way. There's no way she was going to be willing to cross that I-beam. And then he said, what if I'm holding one of your children over the edge of the building on the other side of that I-beam? Will you cross it? She's there. Of course she's there. I wouldn't think twice, right? What will fear just evaporates when it comes to doing for others. So change your focus and do it for them. Fear is only as deep as your mind allows it to be. Yep. So I am Andi P. I'm very glad you joined me, and I'm reminding you to gain strength, courage, and confidence by stopping right now. Stop and take a moment to look fear in the face. Until next week, thank you for tuning in to Eat, Play, Live.